Previously on Awesome Fun.
I suppose you can stay, but you better make yourself useful, or you're out.
Once marooned on this island, every escape plan failed. But then, oh no! Oh! No! I will have my revenge on that purple-haired buffoon and his smelly pig friend.
And now, the continuation. You summoned us, Chief?
Aye, have a swatch at my new speedboat.
Boat? What Ow!
Isn't she a wee beauty? Wait till Big Jim sees me soaring past in this. He'll be so jelly, he'll be wobbling for a week.
Chief, you know there aren't any rivers around here, right?
No yet, but there will be, once you build them.
Me?
You are an apprentice builder, are you not?
Well, yes, but...
Then get to work, right now. I've marked out where you've to build, and it'd better be a magical enchanting paradise, or I'll give you a Glasgow kiss.
I think he's beginning to like us. What's a Glasgow kiss, anyway? Oh, some fun! What is up, dudes, dudettes, and dudes who defy description? My name is Oz, and a toasty hot warm welcome to another episode. Today we're creating an enchanted river, and if we go to the eye in the sky, we can see Chief has marked out a pretty sizable area with netherrack. Are you coming to help? Who made you construction supervisor? Unbelievable. Yes, boss. Right, let's start sketching in the river shape. Now I want to approach this build a bit like a painting. Even though I've never painted a painting, I've seen people paint them and I've heard them talk about it. And they always say that you need to start by sketching out the broad details first. Or was it, you can't draw the whiskers of the cat until you draw the cat? Something like that. I'm sorry, Big Jim, but your stalls are gonna have to go. At your house as well, but... Yeah, I know, but it's not down to me. You gotta speak to the construction supervisor. Stop looking at me like that, Big Jim. I'm just doing my job. But boss, Chief told me to build there. Fired? Alright, I'll move it. Happy now? At the moment, it kinda looks like an ugly mess. But if you squint, you can make out the curving river shape at the lowest level. Dude, how many times? That's my bed. Get your own. Right, so we've now sketched out... Dude, I'm literally in your head. It's a scary place. So we've sketched out our river area. And I'm so excited. That, however, is Big Jim's house, so don't mention it to him. So what we're going to do for now is, a magical cat appeared, is we're going to start to put in the colours in our enchanted river. So we're going to start here in the riverbed, and I'm thinking we're going to use something like brown terracotta in the middle for the sort of darker areas. We've also got these awesome muddy mangrove roots as well. And soul soil is something that looks particularly muddy. We do have soul sand as well, but that of course will create bubbles, so we'll want to use that in strategic areas. Next up, we've got podzol for another colour that's getting a bit lighter underneath too. We've got then our brown wool, and this is a bit of an unusual texture to have maybe in a riverbed, but see, it's kind of like muddy, almost like a stony, muddy sort of thing. Then we've got our 3 dirts that we can use. We've got coarse dirt, regular dirt, and rooted dirt too. Then we also have these new blocks as well, the packed mud. And this is going to be great for the kind of muddy edges of the river bank. And we've also got some brown mushroom block as well that I think kind of fits in nicely. So, a bit of a crazy palette perhaps, but I think this is going to work out really well for the bed of the river. So, it's time to get painting. Well, if you had difficulty making out the shape of the riverbed when we just had stone, there's no way you can say that now. But of course, in Minecraft, we don't tend to see things from this awesome bird's eye view all the time, so let's go back to the ground level. And wow, this looks fantastic. Now, you do have to keep your imagination going at the moment, because we've only done the riverbed, so we've got these janky areas at the side here that we're going to put that fill into the bank in a moment, but we've got the main riverbed in place. And again, you have to keep the image of the river in your head all the time, because there's no water here right now. So although it looks cool and even sounds cool walking around in the muddy riverbed, you'll actually be up about this high, maybe a little bit higher as you come around the river. So now you can get the idea of, as you cut, if you imagine we're in the middle in the water, see the bank flowing by, and oh, it's fantastic. But we now need to have the riverbank. We've got the muddy river and it's drying out as it gets towards the edges, but now we need to add some greenery. And the palette for this, I'm thinking some lime terracotta here on this edge, because it'll have the water touching it some places. Then we have our concrete powder of the green variety up here. And we've also going to use some moss as well. I think I tried a bit of it out here, because I want this to be really vibrant, really bright green grass for the enchanting area. I want it to really contrast with the river that we've got here below. So, we've got the bank in place, we've got the bed in place even. It's now time to work on those banks. So take a good look at the stone, because it won't be here for much longer. The banks are alive with beautiful greenery. Oh yes, now this place is starting to look a lot more alive and a lot less brown and stony. Isn't it fantastic? Now it's a bit weird, I know, because the train only goes part of the way up, but it only needs to go this far for now, and we don't want to preempt what builds might come in the future and what they might do when they come onto the river. So it's just the initial edges that we need. I particularly love the view from up here, looking down river. How different does it look underneath here? Oh, it looks very spiky, jaggy. We've got two lovely caves here, this one here, where the water will be flowing out, form these rivers and joining with this river up here as well. And I had a bit of fun in the caves using our new sculk block. So in the back of the cave, just kind of looks like it goes on forever, but actually just goes to about here, and then we've got all of this awesome, so cool. I don't even know, you probably can't see anything on YouTube, but I love it. It's like space background with some glass, and that just gives the effect that the cave is spooky and goes on and on. So now that we've laid this awesome foundation of a river, it's time to think about starting to decorate it, make it a bit more practical. And the first thing we need to do is build some bridges. We need to connect this area with a prism and what will be here over to this area at about this point here. We also want to connect this river, across this river even, from the Stargate, from our portal over here, and this one will maybe go in a diagonal direction, maybe come from there to there, across this way. So we've got two bridges, but we need to make sure we can still navigate up and down them. So let's start by planning a shape. Here's the shape for our arched bridge. I'm calling this one the red bridge, and this little one the blue bridge. Can you believe it? This is confession time. I've never really built anything with copper. And on that bombshell, it's time to hit fast forward. Man, those new mangrove trapdoors are aces. It's going to take a lot of restraint for me not to use them in every single build. Oh yes, but still, the villagers are preferring to go into the river rather than over it. But hopefully when the water comes in, that'll change. And here's the angle of you coming up over the bridge. Just think about this view, and we've got trees and the water flowing. It's gonna be beautiful. But I think personally, the top-down view is awesome. Look at that arch shape that you get on this bridge from over the top view. It's awesome. It'll look great on a map. Same with our second little blue bridge that we see there. Now the river is aesthetically coming together well. The terrain's good. We've got bridges, but Chief did say he wanted this to be an enchanting, magical experience. And now that we're coming on to doing the proper decoration, the trees, now's the time to find some magic. So here's my idea that I've got. I don't know if this is going to work. It's a bit out there. Now, if we imagine a tree, right? We've got a tree, an oak tree, and with azalea leaves. So imagine it's a little azalea tree like that, right? And the river, you can see the way the river's cut through the terrain. So the idea is it's going to cut through the terrain, and it's cutting through to create a sort of, or open up, shall we say, like magical crystal deposits. So if we had like a little deposit, again, this is just super rough, of amethyst, like you get, you know, and the idea is the amethyst crystals are coming out of the river. They're kind of infecting the tree here, and they're starting to transform and crystallize the tree. And how I think we can do that is, so this is the tree, then like we mix in things like this. Because with the glass, I think, and because of the textures, right, put it on top. Whoop. Because of the textures, and when you're far away, you won't really see the glass very much. You'll just sort of see the shape of those bits. So can we make a tree out of crystals? So this magical crystals is coming up, it's infecting this tree and it's transforming it. Now this is just a rough demonstration. I'm scared, it looks awesome in my head, but in real life, well, you'll see in just half a second's time. And here's our big reveal. I wanted to give you it from a distance first of all. Here you go. Is that not incredible the way that looks, especially from a distance? I mean, the colors on that, it looks like a cherry blossom tree from this far away until you zoom in and see the crystals. And you see what I mean about the glass? You don't see the glass. So let's go up and take a look at it a little bit closer from a different angle, and I can show you the magical part of it. So we can see the tree here. It overhangs the river a bit, with some magenta glass panes hanging down from it. And you can see in the middle the leaves. So originally this was a tree, and then underneath here there's like a little geode that I've built. So this crystally geode was underneath, and it slowly infused its crystals inside this cherry tree and transformed it over the time into a crystal tree. And then obviously the branches have become heavy and they start to hang down, but that is something that's super magical. So that's one of our trees. And for the alongside of the river, I've got 3 main trees I want to do, and each of them kind of has like a mom tree. This is the mommy tree of the crystal variety, and then what we can do is use the same style but on a smaller scale to build little trees that will go kind of dotted along the side here. So now that we've got our first tree in place, I want to show you the idea for the second. So for our next big tree, I like the idea of this bit here where it kind of overhangs the edge of this connecting bit of the river here. So I like this place here for a tree. And what I'm thinking of is a nice birchy kind of tree with bees' nests hanging off the side. But I'd like to try and hide some sort of flowers inside the leafy parts, which will be these azalea leaves, because I really like them. They're really nice. These azaleas, they're pretty. We're going to hide flowers inside there, have lots of these things hanging off the side so that the bees hopefully stay around in the area. And again, it should be kind of like a magical honey/bee tree, or bee/honey, because I guess you need the bee before the honey. Okay, this time we're going to have a look up reveal. So here is our beautiful birch bee tree. There she blows. Isn't it fantastic, the shape, especially this angle? If we move a little bit, start to see the X-wings behind. But look at that magnificent shape. And who says birch cannot be beautiful? We've got this gnarly trunk running up here. We've got the hanging off, the bee hives all around with the glowberries underneath. And you can see we've also got flowers hidden in side up here. This is the one that makes the green particles, and these are some alliums inside too. And between the berries and the alliums, it should hopefully keep a lot of the bees around the tree area and give us them at lots of different heights. 'Cause this is going to give us a lot of fantastic life in the build. It sure is, with all the bees moving around. Now, I'm tempted, and I might come back to this later in case it's too much, to do something similar to what we did with the Amethyst Geode and use honey blocks and honeycomb underneath here to make it as if there's magical honey magic that comes into the tree and makes it so popular with the bees. So let's fly up a little bit. Just so you can see on the top, we've hidden in the flowers so that you can't quite see them sticking up. They're just recessed like that, along with a little bit of the glowing vines, the glow lichen, to light up the tree at night too. And then if we come close underneath it, we should begin to get the particle effect, yep, from the green there. And the other interactive thing, you can hear the splashing of the honey as it splashes and drips down. And it will drip down on you as you're going through the river as well. So that's another little interactive feature. So there is our bee tree. We've got one more left now of the mommy tree variety. Down here, we're going to throw ourselves in a mangrove tree. I've been really inspired by these new mangroves that we get with the mangrove wood. And of course, we have roots at the bottom of them as well. And these fantastic mangrove leaves too. So I want to do my own mangrove tree. I'm going to do it here, going into the river. We'll maybe extend a little bit of the river out this way, or some water out here to put them in water. But see, this is our last tree. I think it'll be fun for the last one to hit fast forward.
Months now, stuck on this barren island. Nothing to eat but stupid sushi. Oh no, it's Philip, coming to stab me with his fork like he does every day. Ha! No kill for you today, Philip. I'm far too clever. Haha! I win today, Philip. Where's my fish? He stole it, didn't he? I hate this island!
What do you mean you've received complaints about me? Boss, I haven't destroyed any of the villagers' homes. They're right here in this shulker box. Some assembly required. But the viewers are watching. We need to go on with the episode. Come look at some happy trees with me. Jeez, man, why is the boss always riding me all the time? Anyway, I think in the time lapse we finished by looking at this mommy mangrove tree that we created. So I've created two smaller ones further up the river here. You can see them there. And I think once this is filled with water, this will give really nice coverage on all the sides there as you come down and you look up at these wicked mangroves. And they're so much fun to build with the roots. A great addition. Then we had, of course, our giant honeybee tree. And we've got a smaller one here with a swing on it that McBacon is currently chilling on, that you can see over there. So there is our smaller birch tree with a swing. Senior exec. I thought you were just a construction supervisor. Since when did she get promoted? Twice. I'm sure that gets bigger every further the episode goes. Anyway, this is a small little birch tree that we've got here. And then, of course, we've got our giant crystal tree. And here is the smaller azalea. And it's much subtler here. You can see that it is beginning to transform into a crystal tree, but it's not as far along. And the same, we've got another 3 of these little trees further up the river, just before the bridge. Just here. So smaller trees, and again, beginning to get crystallized as well. But I think we're filling this out nicely. Now, if any of these particular tree designs that you see you like, and you'd like maybe like a tutorial on them, or maybe a general video about making trees or something, just let me know in the comments below, because they are so much fun to design, and there's so much you can do And there's still a lot I'd like to learn because I find doing small trees like this really difficult. If we go to the eye in the sky, you can see our little trees here. They look pretty cool, but I do find it hard to do them small. When you're doing it big like this, it's easy, but small, it's tricky. Now, the next thing I'd like to do, and we can do this one together, is add some benches. That's what this is here for. So I want to make benches themed to the area. So what I was thinking is, for this one, if we get rid of these 3 blocks, we can put down amethyst clusters, because they go with the area. We can put purple carpet on top of them, like this, and then in this middle bit here, I'm going to put an ender chest, because it gives particles, kind of magical particles. We can put a bit of moss there to hide it, and that'll let us put carpet on top. So a super simple bench there, but yeah, kind of magical, kind of cool. Over by the mangroves, we're going to put in another bench so we can sit and enjoy this view. Now for this one, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to put water in these holes. I'm going to use ice, but you can of course just use a bucket of water. Then we're going to put a crimson slab on top. And this will allow us to place fire coral here without the fire coral dying because this is waterlogged. We can then place on top of here, if we can, maybe better doing it from up here. And 3. Then we come round, look at the back of it, go 1, 2, 3, so the slats are going the other direction, flip them up, and we have a funky red bench that sort of fits in with our mangrove area. The third bench is going to go here underneath the bee tree, looking out over the Stargate and this little bridge. This is going to be a slightly smaller one, so just 2 waxed oxidized cut copper, yeah, those ones. It's a bit of a long name. Then we're going to put trapdoors, 2 along the back, 1 on either side, and we just flippity flip, flip, and we've got a nice little bench. Fourth and finally, we're going to have a bench here so we can look out over the swing tree and the honey tree and this lovely part of the river. So we get rid of our 2 there. Very similar to the last one. 2 slabs of the birch variety. Then we're going to do 2 of these at the back with this should be at the top when you flip them up. And then we're just going to do a sign on either side. Nothing written on the sign. Just like that. And we get ourselves another nice little bench. Now it is indeed rude. It is indeed time nearly to put the water in, but the last thing we've got to do is add some foliage around here, some flowers. And what tends to work well with flowers in Minecraft is to group colors that are similar all together. So I've prepared 4 different color varieties. Here we've got blue, where we have things like twisting vines, warped roots, warped fungus, tube coral, coral fans, soul campfires, cornflowers, candles, all these blue things. And here we've got pink and purple things like the flowering azalea, lilac. Down here we've got all our green and browns, things like grass. Lily pads are for inside the river. Also sugarcane, bamboo, all these things too. We've also got some miscellaneous cobwebs, skulk vein, drip leaves, flower pots. These things might come in handy. And then here we've got a red variety. So we've got sweet berries, rosebush, red mushrooms, poppies. Quite a good selection here. So we can make sort of beds of flowers in the areas around here of each different colour. So I'm going to play around with that and then you can see what I've got. Alright, things are blooming on the banks of our river. So here is one of our red color designs. So you can see the mix we've got in there of all the different red things that we had in the shulker box. We've got little details like red candles as well, and added some vines and things too. And we also kind of, what I've done is I've done sort of patches or beds, I guess, of kind of red. And then in between, you kind of use green as a way to sort of mix in between things like the bamboo, the melons. I've also added some little rock piles just to fill out and help detail the banks as well. So this area with the mangroves is kind of red flower themed area. Then as we come up here, this is a blue sort of themed area with the nice mushrooms and the other coral and these kind of otherworldly blocks. We also added in nice soul campfire by our bench here when we're sitting down and relaxing and enjoying the view. And in fact, this gives us a view of the pinky purple color. Again, we can see more rocks at the side there. We've also put in our mix of flowers and things along here. And of course, along the side. Now, when it comes to the edges of the inside of the sort of cliff areas, it's not so much flowers. There's still a couple of flowers every now and again, but mainly we've got mushrooms, hanging roots, spider webs, little ferns, dead bushes, that kind of thing just under the cliff to give us some nice atmosphere. And that brings us along to our last little bench here that you can see. So with our flowers added in, we can now do the thing I am most excited about, and that is adding in the water at last!
With the water in place, our build is now complete. The Enchanted River begins with a mini mangrove area where 3 beautiful trees sprout from the river banks, overhanging lovely red flower beds. Drip leaves and lily pads help make this a froggy paradise. The next section has birch-inspired trees, one with a cute swing for sunny afternoons by the river. The centerpiece is this epic honey tree, with hidden flowers and beehives hanging from its branches. The final section is the most magical, with amethysts fusing themselves into azalea leaves. You can see 2 allays who collect crystals from the river and feed them into the trunk. The river splits here, and 2 mysterious caves feed the river from underground.
A last few minor details that I wanted to share with you were things like I used some skulk sensors under the water here, and every time something passes, like a fish, you can see some over there, or a turtle, they kind of light up, but they also just look kind of undersea-like. I think it's the way they wiggle. It's a lot like the seaweed itself. It's pretty cool. So I put those details in a few places. The allays, in case you were wondering, how do we get the allays to basically harvest crystals from the river and take them to the tree? Well, there's a little dispenser that dispenses a crystal every less than 30 seconds, and they then take it to a note block that's triggered at the same time, and they drop the crystals there, and if they miss them, they just go back and pick them up too. And this is a pretty stable system. The allays have never stopped going for it. They've never unpaired from the note block, so far, pretty good. Another fun detail is if you duck underneath here, you'll find a little cave that you can enter, and inside this cave, you can see we've got a skeleton of someone with a sword, and in here we've got treasure and a treasure map. So this was obviously a pirate who hid here, guarding his treasure, and sadly remained here forever, and a single candle burns. But I love that little detail. Alongside the allays, we've also added lots of fish alongside our bees and turtles. Now, the frogs, I don't know if anyone, say in the comments below if you know anything about this, but I've taken over a dozen frogs to this area here, and even though it's a froggy paradise with the drip leaves and the lily pads and everything, the frogs, as soon as you bring them here or hatch them here, immediately just leave. And you see there's one up there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're just climbing the mountain. So where are they going? Every time you bring them here, they just immediately go away. So if anyone knows anything about that behavior and how we can keep them here without having to build a massive fence, I'd love to know. Now you'll also notice that there's quite a few gaps in this build. Such as here, there's a big open space, and the banks of the river only go a little bit back and then they kind of stop. And that's because we're covering a really large area and we don't want to preempt what we might build in that space. So I know that on the corner here, we need to rebuild Big Jim's house. We need to build another house on that section over there that I'd like to connect here with some kind of bridge. We also need to reposition the stalls that we moved back into a proper marketplace in the center here. So any gaps that you'll see is just preemptive for future builds. But I think we're pretty much done.
All that's left now is to show Chief.
I'm down here, wee man, and I must say, you've done a good job.
Thanks.
No, you. Your supervisor.
What about me?
You.
You need to hurry up. 2 months to make one video. You'll never make it in YouTube like that. Hey, that's really mean. I know it's true, but not polite. Stop flapping your lips and go to that chest, will you? A speed potion? What's this for?
Yeah, drink it and get in here. You're my engine.
So this is how it becomes a speedboat.
No, if you don't shut it and get rowing. And sing.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Belts off, trousers down, life is such a scream. Hey!
Sing bear.